Tongue Torch. Zax sauce? Tongue Torch and Zax sauce? With Zaxby's Chicken Finger Plate, the question is not will you sauce those hand-breaded fingers? The question is, can you get extra napkins? Endless sauceabilities, only at Zaxby's.
You know, we talk a lot on this show and are always glad to about the different places you can live in Chattanooga and the surrounding area if you're looking to transition from your home to an independent or perhaps even assisted living facility. But the hard part comes in the transition from getting one place to another. That is not always so easy, but we're about to make it a lot easier for you this morning. Robin Blankenship is here. She has a business in Chattanooga called Next Chapter Transitions, and not only does she have the business, she has herself walked the walk. So you know the importance of what you do. So nice to have you.
Thank you very much.
So as I understand kind of the synopsis of what you do, it's just what I said. You help people who've lived, one client, 67 years in their house. How do you take that and move successfully someplace else? The answer is you.
I did this with my own mom and dad in 2018. And I was able, from where I was in life, to be able to help them. And I thought, what do people do that children don't live here, they don't have children, children have careers and families that they just don't have the time to commit. It's an emotional process and it's a lot of work. And to clients, especially seniors, it's overwhelming.
It is overwhelming.
To where to start.
You know, I talk about her all the time, so here I go again, sorry. But my mom is almost 92.
Wow.
And I notice in talking to her, she's very active and very sharp, but it takes her longer to think through something. An obstacle that would be kind of insignificant for me is sometimes insurmountable for her. So the idea of moving, it's one thing to even choose where you want to go, much less knowing how to get yourself there.
Yeah, when we go meet with a client at the first time, and we always go out and just do a consultation in their home because we can't even begin to know how we can help.
Yeah.
So we never charge for that, but to be able to go out there, they are just almost paralyzed because there's so many moving parts and they don't know where to begin. And you are right, as you get older, the process of kind of making decisions, I mean, it's a little bit harder sometimes.
You know what I have loved in talking to you? It's a woman to woman thing here, but you really get the emotion that is behind this. So to leave your home, however long you've been there, is hard. Often you might be leaving because it is the end of something and a new beginning, and you love all the pieces that you have. There's a memory with everything in your house. How do you choose what you take?
What we really do first is most clients will know where they're going, or at least have an idea. Some don't, and we just start kind of slowly doing that downsizing because they know that's going to come. But when you figure out where you're going, you need to go in and literally measure this new place inch by inch and develop a floor plan with all the things that they want to take with them. And they usually want to take more than probably what would fit or be functional or look good. And we would be able to go through and we do a floor plan. We have them categorized, like, give me a priority. Is it something I have to have no matter what?
Right.
Is it something I really like to have? Or is it something that, well, if it fits, I like it, and let's try to fit it in. And so I kind of have A, B, and C. And we do a floor plan and work with them, and it's 3D. So we come, once we have a recommendation, we'll come and sit down with them and let them play with it and figure out, well, what if I had this chair and here and took away the couch? And so that way it helps, they see it's right there. They see not just does it fit like looking down on a floor plan, but if you're in the room looking, does it feel too crowded?
This might be a crazy question, but do most places have a similar floor plan?
They have similar floor plans, but why we measure it is there may be things like air ducts, and you want to know where pull cords are, and fixtures, and the cable connection. And they may have 5 of the same floor plan, and they're different. And 2 or 3 inches in a small apartment makes a big difference of whether this piece is going to fit on this wall. So we measure each one.
If I was having this conversation with my husband, he would say to me, Julie, you've got to be out of your mind. You would choose where you want to live based on blank. But if there is a certain piece of furniture, your grandmother's buffet or an heirloom piano or, you know, whatever, that you can't bear to part with, does that sometimes factor into where they choose to go?
Usually, not.
I know
not
that
as
sounds
much.
silly,
well,
but
I think sometimes that it will choose which community they want to,
Yeah.
or it may be they are just moving not to a community but to a smaller home or a townhouse or a condo.
now that's an important distinction to make. This is not, I made it be about living in an independent or assisted living, but that is not it. You could just be downsizing houses.
Usually people, I mean, there are times when they have to go directly from their home to assisted living, which is a very big jump down because there's just less space.
Yeah.
But a lot of times you may downsize once from your big house, the family home, to a condo or a townhouse, and then you may do it again to an independent community, and a third time to assisted living. Everyone is different in that regard. But what I found is when we're doing floor planning, you'd be surprised, we can usually accommodate. We just need to have things in priority order, and also let people be a little more flexible in, you know what, there's this wonderful space in the guest bathroom that we can put this chest and use it for storing towels and this and that. You have to think if maybe it doesn't have to be exactly where I had it before.
Right. And I love, as we're taking a look at all these beautiful pictures of examples of what you've done, every single one of them looks like home. Obviously, if you're going to go tour a community, they've got like a spec apartment for you to take a look at, and that might be hard to envision making it your own, but you've done it. I mean, it's beautiful.
We work with people when we're going through this process after the floor planning. The next step is then, well, now we know what we're working with as far as furniture and space. Then we have to go through everything, and you really have to make some level of decision of everything in your house as to what's going to fit.
Okay, that's a big task.
It
so
is.
it's one thing to talk about the beauty and the fun of keeping whatever the furniture is that you love and your comfortable chair and on and on. But there's a lot of just logistical stuff that you deal with. You were even telling me that when the move day comes, you handle that and they walk in the door and it's done.
Yeah,
right?
by the next day.
That's crazy.
Well, and I think, you know, you're going through all of this stuff, and a lot of times we talked about, you know, kids, adult children, who aren't kids,
Right.
but adult children, they usually have their own commitments in life, and so they aren't able to be as patient to go through things. And it's just sometimes so much better. We do this every day, day in and day out, and my entire team loves what we do, and they're very good at it. And they can get decisions made so quickly. One person will be interacting with the client, the other one will be moving things around. So these are things that are going to be donated. This goes to these family members, we'll make a note. This is going with you.
Depending on the client's timeline, how much of a hurry do you have to be in? Because sometimes you may think you want to keep something and then a couple days later you'll change your mind. Is there wiggle room like that?
There is. What I always encourage people, when you know you're probably going to make a move, the sooner you can call us, the better, because we'll coordinate with a real estate person. And maybe a couple of extra weeks would make a big difference on the stress level of a client versus I get a call, we sold the house, I have to be out in 21 days and I've lived here 40 years and I don't know what to do. That's hard on the client as well as us.
I hope, well, we have to kind of wrap it up, but I hope that this can be the beginning of some conversations that we'll be able to have, because it's a lot to take in. Just the fact that you're even here and that you've experienced this yourself means so much, I would think.
It does. That's why I started it, and I've really just seen time and time again, if you have compassion, you treat people with dignity going through this process and have a lot of empathy for it, because it's very hard.
It is.
And if you're able to do that well, it makes that transition, it is night and day of what it could be and what it ends up being. And people are so grateful and so relieved. I've had adult children cry because they always knew this was out there and they didn't know how they were going to handle it.
Well, here is how you can get in touch with her. And by the way, she is technically a senior moving manager, which there are all across the country. She just happened to bring this one now to Chattanooga by way of her roots in Texas. But you will find her at nextchapterseniortransitions.com. Best thing is just to call her, 615-9500, and hopefully watch for her again here on 3+U. Thank you, Robin.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
The alarms are earlier, the